So I just bought a Swann Pro Series HD 1080p camera system. I bought it actually for my own home use because the previous cameras that was installed were not too good. So I upgraded to this system and thought I would upload my experience because I couldn't find much information on the box other than a couple of reviews from the store website. The unit that I bought came with an 8-channel DVR with 1TB hard drive, 8 1080p bullet cameras, and 8 18-meter BNC cables to support the system. It also came with an Ethernet cable, an HDMI cable, a couple of power adapters and splitters, a mouse, and some theft deterrent stickers. It also came with the standard quick start guide. So from my side, the only thing I had to provide was a screen for the setup. This was done via the HDMI connection in the back of the unit. I also had to provide a couple of BNC extensions, and this was because the cables were short of the 8. There was 4 at least that were short, and so I had to, of course, extend it. There was another way which was suggested to me, and that was to use a converter so that you could run Cat6 cable from the camera to the unit, and then you could just use the adapters to convert from Cat6 into the BNC cable. So that is an option if you are having to drill through too many walls and you don't want to make such big holes to get the BNC cable through. So once you have set up the system using the screen, it's not necessary to have the screen always running. In fact, you don't even need it because you can just use the app on your phone. Otherwise, if you have a computer connected to the same network, it's very easy to set up and view on the computer itself. So this is the side view of the 1080p Swann camera. As you can see, there are 2 screws that are actually in the front of the camera on either side, and if you take these off, what you can do is rotate the camera anti-clockwise or clockwise. Also, you have a second screw which is placed right in the middle of the camera, and this allows the camera to be moved up or down. There is also one more knob kind of thing at the end which can be rotated so that you can rotate once again the camera anti-clockwise or clockwise to suit your preference. So this is really good because it means you can place the camera at full 90-degree angles and still get a good clear view that is straight and level. Cables on these cameras are fairly long, and you're going to find that that's really helpful because if you want to install it in the way that I did, which was using junction boxes, you can kind of connect inside the junction box and you have flexibility of about a half a meter to install the camera where you feel would be best. This is also good because later on, if you were to upgrade the cameras, say to 4K cameras, then you wouldn't have to go back into the ceiling. You would just take off the junction box and do the connection from there using the existing BNC cable. The groove is cut out so that if you would want to install the camera and drill the hole in 2 different places, you would have that flexibility as you would just route the cable out of the side of the camera. Probably a good recommendation though is that you always put the groove at the bottom of the camera when installing so that the water doesn't seep into the area inside. The 8-channel DVR unit itself has 2 USB ports in the front of the unit, and it also has a USB port in the back, but that one is, I think, particularly or specifically for the mouse. You'll also find that the ventilation is on the sides, so you can't really put any sort of objects on the side of this unit, otherwise it can overheat and that can lead to problems later. Underneath you'll also find 2 mounting brackets, which is really useful if you were to mount this, say, on your side wall or potentially a ceiling or even in a rack where you need some sort of stability. I found this really helpful, and you'll see how I installed my one so that I could get the best use of the installation site. In the back of the DVR you'll find a audio input and output. Also you'll find the connection places for the 8 1080p camera, a standard HDMI and VGA slots, and also you'll have a place to connect your network and a USB mouse. And lastly, you'll also get the place where you can plug in your 12-volt power supply. So this is basically how I installed the unit in my closet. I previously had a network switch which was installed by myself, and I have connected from the same place, but the cables are going up into the ceiling because most of the connections were going directly to the soffit outside. So I found it easier to run it up onto the ceiling rather than down underneath the house and then back up. So this is an example of how I've installed one of the cameras outside. As you can see, there's a junction box in the back of the camera, which is housing the connection between the BNC cables and the BNC of the camera. As you can see, the place where it's installed requires a little bit of painting work. What I found was that installing it this way using the junction box, it was really easy to remove the camera and place it on the side so that we can continue to do the work rather than allowing the camera to just hang in the mid-air basically. Wherever there was holes, what I did was I put a little bit of silicone so that if there was any water blasting to be done on that area, or even if there was very, very heavy rain, there would be no chance of the water entering in through the cable connection of the camera or into the flush box where the connection was housed. So this is some of the day footage which I shot with one of the cameras. I also have night footage for the same camera so that you can see the difference in the day and night image as well as the range. One thing to note is that if the camera has trees or any sort of object in front of it where the wind can blow it and keep it continuously moving, that will mean that the camera picks it up and records for the period that the tree or the object moves. If you're in that scenario, you might end up having to cut the branches off that tree so that the image is more clear. Otherwise, you may have to lower the sensitivity in the camera options. Otherwise, you may have to adjust the angle of the camera. There's also an option in the system to set dead zones so that if there's something that is moving that can affect the motion, you can make that a dead zone so that the camera doesn't detect that and thus record as well. If you're going to record continuously, you're going to find that the 1TB hard drive fills up fairly quickly, and so you'll probably need to get a couple more expansion drives so that at least you can record in that way. I have set my camera to motion, and the reason I did this was so that it wouldn't fill up the hard drive so quickly. I did find that doing this though, if the sensitivity was in the middle, it still picked up insects that would go by in the night or even in the daytime. If you plan on recording continuously, you may find that the 1TB hard drive is not enough unless you decide to lower the recording resolution or otherwise you upsize the drive space. But be wary that the drive space maximum is 4 TB. Anything more than that and you'll have to actually record into your computer, or download into your computer I should say. This means that at irregular intervals you'd have to download onto your computer and erase the memory on the internal drive so that it can continue to record over again. Found that the unit was very much plug and play. I didn't have any issues other than the initial installation where I had to go into the ceiling and run the cables. Definitely if you're planning on doing it in a discreet manner so that the cables are not showing everywhere around your building, it will require you to do a lot more work, but it does pay off, and you may find it better to run Cat 6 so that later on you do have more options for cameras, just in case you wanted to change it, say, to IP cameras, or even if you just want to upgrade, as I said before, to the 4K cameras. I did find that in the nighttime, if the camera was internally placed, the light from the IR would actually reflect onto the window, and so you wouldn't be able to see outside. The camera did blind the image if it was facing a wall, especially if the wall is painted with some sort of glossy paint, which was in my case the issue. So to resolve this, what I plan on doing is moving the camera to the right a little bit more so that you don't see the wall on the left side. I'm pretty sure this will stop the image from blurring in the night, and mainly because there won't be any reflection anymore. So yeah, this is my little take on the Swann 1080p cameras. I hope this video helps you to make an informed decision. Definitely for me, I found the cameras very easy to use and very much plug and play. If you have any questions regarding the camera, please feel free to leave questions in the comment section below, and I will do my best to reply to it. And thanks for watching this video.